Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Friday he will spare the lives of Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk region if they surrender. According to Assosicted Press, his comments came as a reply to U.S. President Donald Trump's appeal for the lives of soldiers blocked by Russian troops in Kursk region. Putin added that the servicemen will be guaranteed life and decent treatment. He also claimed that Ukrainian soldiers have committed numerous crimes against the civilian population in the invasion zone. The Russian army, backed by North Korean troops, are now close to completely driving Ukrainian forces from their foothold in Russia's Kursk border region in what would be a major setback for Kiev. Meanwhile, the Russian leader also met with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss details of the American proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Russia's military campaign in Ukraine, asking him to convey Moscow's thoughts to Washington.
Мы знаем, что новая администрация во главе с президентом Трампом делает все для того, чтобы восстановить хоть что-то из того, что было практически сведено к нулю, уничтожено прежней американской администрации. Процесс этот непростой, если не сказать сложный, как всем хорошо известно. И у меня состоялся телефонный разговор с президентом Трампом. Состоялись первые контакты нашего министра иностранных дел со своим американским коллегой, и помощник президента России Ушаков встречался со своими визави. Так что в целом ситуация как бы начинает двигаться. Ну, посмотрим, что из этого получится. Мы сегодня этой темой и позанимаемся. Прежде чем начать работу, хотел бы сказать, что мы ознакомились с сегодняшним обращением президента США господина Трампа пощадить жизни военнослужащих украинской армии, части которой заблокированы российскими войсками в зоне вторжения ВСУ в Курскую область. В этой связи обращаем внимание, что украинские боевики совершили в зоне вторжения многочисленные преступления против гражданского населения. Эти деяния, как я уже говорил, квалифицируются Генеральной прокуратурой Российской Федерации как терроризм. Вместе с тем, мы с пониманием относимся к призыву президента Трампа руководствоваться в отношении этих военнослужащих соображениями гуманитарного характера. В этой связи подчеркну, что в случае сложения оружия и сдачи в плен им будет гарантирована жизнь и достойное обращение в соответствии с нормами международного права и законами Российской Федерации. Для эффективной реализации призыва президента США необходим соответствующий приказ военно-политического руководства Украины своим воинским подразделениям сложить оружие и сдаться в плен.
The Western press is discussing the first visit of the Russian president to the Kursk region since the beginning of the Ukrainian invasion. Let us recall that the chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, reported to Putin on the progress of operations in the Kursk border area. Western resources were primarily concerned about Vladimir Putin appearing in front of cameras in military uniform for the first time since the beginning of the war. A number of European publications and channels interpreted this as not an accident. European analysts are trying to give the Russian president's appearance the status of a signal to the entire West and Kiev. Allegedly, the point is that Putin is showing his position on the further continuation of military actions and is preparing to refuse the 30-day truce proposed by the United States and approved by Kiev. At the same time, Western analysts, for some reason, overlook the fact that Putin appeared in a field military uniform precisely in the Kursk region, where a counter-terrorist operation regime was introduced in August of last year after the invasion of Ukrainian troops, and where Russian territory is recognized both in Kiev and in the West. In this regard, if the president's military uniform is to be interpreted as a signal, it is to be interpreted as a signal of the intention not to stop the counter-terrorist operation in the Kursk region until the enemy is destroyed in this Russian region or at least driven out of there. What Vladimir Putin thinks about a truce in other parts of the front, specifically in the SVO zone, only Vladimir Putin himself knows. Russian opposition political strategist Abbas Galyamov assured that after 3 to 5 years, the quality of the Russian army will not improve. It will remain the same primitive and ineffective force that is capable of achieving success at the front, only at the cost of colossal losses. This circumstance may well serve as a consolation for Europeans. The expert believes the Russian authorities do not realize their mistakes and will not learn any lessons from the shameful war against Ukraine, since they will be completely immersed in the process of forming the image of a historical victory. And anyone who allows themselves to hint that not everything was smooth will end up behind bars, as Gherkin did in his time. Putin's regime and critical analysis are incompatible, Galyamov emphasized. In modern Russia, the system of power is based on the image of Putin, the winner, who triumphs and does not engage in self-examination or, worse, self-flagellation. Russia's victory will be insignificant, but propagandists will try to inflate it to incredible proportions, and the country will plunge into an atmosphere of self-praise and arrogance that were characteristic of the late Brezhnev era. And even if Russia again risks sticking its nose somewhere, it will be something like a new Afghanistan, the political strategist predicted. Ukrainian troops are likely leaving the Kursk region amid the advance of Russian forces, Forbes writes. 2 weeks ago, an elite Russian drone force disrupted Ukrainian supply lines. On February the 25th, a series of targeted strikes disabled dozens of vehicles along the main road to Sudza. The town served as the main base for a 10,000-strong Ukrainian force that held a large but rapidly shrinking territory in the Kursk region of western Russia. That was the day you started worrying about Kursk, said independent analyst Andrew Perpetua. 2 weeks later, the bulk of Ukrainian units, including the most combat-ready brigades, appeared to have carried out an orderly evacuation from Kursk, returning to Ukrainian territory. My friends managed to leave Kursk without being encircled, one Ukrainian source said on Monday. It's a shame it has come to this, but that's what it is. The Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region in August quickly captured hundreds of square miles of territory, but it failed to consolidate strategically advantageous positions. The advance north was slowed by Russian counterattacks near the village of Pogrebki, and to the east, Ukrainian forces encountered 12,000 North Korean troops. Despite being outnumbered 3-1 by the Russians, the Ukrainians held their ground, using minefields, drones and artillery to repel the attacks. One such episode was the assault on the Russian 155th Separate Naval Infantry Brigade in mid-February. Its column, moving towards the Ukrainian 47th Mechanized Brigade under the red flag of the USSR, ended up in a carefully prepared kill zone. Some of the equipment was blown up by mines, others were destroyed by drones and artillery. One of the Russian soldiers, having climbed out of a damaged armored personnel carrier, took a few steps in the snow, fell, and exploded when a drone hit him. We are extinguishing all enemy attempts to advance in the Kursk region, the 47th Mechanized Brigade stated. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski, aiming to further ceasefire talks, considered the possibility of exchanging territories. We will exchange Ukrainian territory for Russian, Zelensky said. However, the Russia-friendly administration of US President Donald Trump has complicated Kiev's position by not allowing Ukrainian diplomats to participate in negotiations between Washington and Moscow. On February the 28th, Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance criticized Zelensky at the White House accusing him of not being grateful enough for previous US aid. It is worth noting that Vance himself had previously voted against this aid as a senator. After the meeting, Trump cut off military support for Ukraine and froze intelligence sharing. Meanwhile, the elite Russian drone group Rubicon was operating in the Kursk region. Its drones were able to penetrate Ukrainian radio jamming. As a result, the roads to Sudza were littered with destroyed Ukrainian equipment, and Russian aircraft bombed the bridges on the border, making retreat difficult. Yesterday, the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, General Alexander Syrsky, said there is no threat around our units in the Kursk region. However, he did not confirm that Ukrainian troops will remain there. The units are taking timely measures to maneuver at an advantageous defensive line, he added. This may indicate the withdrawal of Ukrainian brigades from Kursk, which casts doubt on the prospect of returning this territory in exchange for a favorable ceasefire.